Thomas Shelby's rise to power is a testament to his unyielding determination and strategic thinking. Growing up in the working-class streets of Birmingham, Thomas Shelby was an enigmatic figure, driven by a fierce ambition that would shape the course of his life. His charisma was undeniable, a trait that would serve him well as he navigated the treacherous world of the Peaky Blinders gang. As a teenager, Shelby was already demonstrating a natural aptitude for leadership, earning the respect of his peers through his fearless attitude and razor-sharp instincts. He was a natural problem solver, always thinking several steps ahead, and his quick wit and cunning helped him navigate the complex web of alliances and rivalries that defined the gang's hierarchy. Shelby's early days in the Peaky Blinders were marked by a series of small-time heists and petty crimes, but he quickly proved himself to be a versatile and adaptable individual. He was always looking for opportunities to expand the gang's influence and profits, often taking calculated risks that paid off in the long run. One of the defining moments of Shelby's early career came during World War I, when he was drafted into the British Army. It was a baptism by fire, as he found himself fighting on the bloody battlefields of the Somme. Despite the horrors he witnessed, Shelby emerged from the conflict with a newfound sense of purpose and a deep-seated conviction that he was destined for greatness. His experiences during the war not only honed his leadership skills but also forged powerful alliances that would serve him well in the years to come. He formed close bonds with fellow soldiers, men who shared his sense of loyalty and camaraderie, and who would become key players in his future endeavors. However, the war also took its toll on Shelby, leaving him with emotional scars that would haunt him for the rest of his life. The loss of loved ones, the trauma of combat, and the moral complexities of war all contributed to a growing sense of disillusionment that would shape his worldview. As he navigated the treacherous landscape of post-war England, Shelby found himself increasingly drawn to the underworld of organized crime. He saw an opportunity to build a new life, free from the constraints of society, and to create a sense of order and stability in a world that seemed determined to tear him apart. But with great power comes great responsibility, and Shelby soon found himself facing a series of impossible choices. Should he prioritize his loyalty to his family and the Peaky Blinders, or should he pursue his own ambitions, no matter the cost? The moral complexities of his actions weighed heavily on his conscience, as he struggled to reconcile his desire for power and wealth with the consequences of his decisions. As Shelby navigated this treacherous landscape, he found himself forced to confront the darker aspects of his own nature. He was a man of contradictions, driven by both a desire for greatness and a deep-seated fear of failure. His actions were guided by a ruthless pragmatism, but also by a twisted sense of loyalty and honor that would ultimately define his legacy. And yet, despite the many risks and challenges that lay ahead, Shelby remained steadfast in his determination to succeed. He was a man on a mission, driven by a fierce ambition that would stop at nothing. As he looked out upon the city of Birmingham, he saw a world of possibilities waiting to be seized, and he knew that he was the only one who could take it. But as he stood at the threshold of this new chapter in his life, Shelby was aware that the road ahead would be fraught with danger. The Peaky Blinders were not the only gang vying for power in the city, and the streets were filled with rival gangs and corrupt officials who would stop at nothing to claim control. The stakes were high, and Shelby knew that he would have to be at the top of his game if he was to emerge victorious. And so, with a sense of trepidation and anticipation, Shelby set his sights on the future, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. But little did he know, the greatest challenge of all was yet to come, one that would test his leadership, his loyalty, and his very soul to the limit. The question on everyone's mind was, could Thomas Shelby overcome the odds and emerge victorious, or would his ambition ultimately prove to be his downfall? Thomas Shelby's rise to power was fueled by his ability to build relationships and forge alliances with other gangs and powerful figures. He understood that in the world of organized crime, nobody succeeds alone. By forming strategic partnerships, Shelby expanded his influence and created a network of loyal followers who would stop at nothing to protect him. One of Shelby's most impressive tactics was his ability to negotiate and manipulate situations to his advantage. He was a master of reading people, identifying their strengths and weaknesses, and using that information to his benefit. With a charisma that was both captivating and unnerving, Shelby could charm his way into even the most unlikely alliances. But building trust and loyalty was not just about charisma, it was about consistency and reliability. Shelby made sure to keep his word, even when it meant sacrificing his own interests. He knew that in the world of gangs, a broken promise could be a death sentence. So, he worked tirelessly to earn the respect and loyalty of those around him, often going to great lengths to prove himself a worthy ally. Now, you might be wondering how Shelby managed to take such calculated risks, weighing the potential rewards against the potential costs. The truth is, it wasn't always easy. There were times when he had to think on his feet, making split-second decisions that would determine the course of his life. But Shelby's experience had taught him the value of strategic thinking. He knew that in the world of organized crime, the difference between success and failure often came down to a single, well-planned move. One of Shelby's most notable examples of calculated risk-taking was his decision to challenge the Sabony gang. With their reputation for brutality and ruthlessness, the Sabony were not to be trifled with. But Shelby saw an opportunity to expand his influence and create a power vacuum in the process. He assembled a team of trusted allies, including his brother Arthur and Johnny Dogs, and prepared for battle. The consequences of Shelby's actions would be far-reaching, impacting his relationships and reputation in ways he could never have imagined. As he navigated the treacherous waters of organized crime, Shelby would be forced to confront the blurred lines between loyalty and betrayal. Would he be able to maintain the trust of his allies, or would the pressure of his own ambition tear everything apart? The answer would come at a cost, one that would change the course of Shelby's life forever. As Thomas Shelby's empire expanded, so did the personal costs of his success. The weight of his ambition began to bear down on him, leaving deep scars on his relationships and his mental health. His family, once a tight-knit unit, grew increasingly fragmented as the demands of his business took priority. His wife, Grace, struggled to cope with the strain of living in the shadows of his notorious reputation. The luxury and excess that came with his success only served to heighten the contrast between his public and private life. Thomas's penthouse flat in Birmingham was a testament to his wealth and influence, but it also felt like a gilded cage, a constant reminder of the price he paid for power. The opulent decor, the fine wine, and the lavish parties all served as a facade, masking the emptiness and loneliness that had begun to consume him. Despite his outward appearance of confidence and control, Thomas struggled with the moral implications of his actions. He had always been driven by a strong sense of justice, but as his empire grew, so did the compromises he made to maintain it. His relationships with his family and friends began to fray as he became increasingly isolated, unable to reconcile his values with the harsh realities of the world he had created. As the years went by, Thomas's legend grew, but so did the toll of his success. He became a shadow of his former self, a ghost haunting the streets of Birmingham. His legacy as a leader was cemented, but at what cost? The question of whether the price he paid for power was worth it would haunt him forever, a constant reminder of the dangers of ambition unchecked. In the end, it was not the guns or the gangs that defined Thomas Shelby, but the choices he made and the consequences that followed. His story serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder that true success is not measured by the power or the wealth we accumulate, but by the principles we uphold and the relationships we